swing over to Tom. Tom is the Strategic Insights VP from the INNOVA North America office, and he will tell us all about the 2020 global food trends. Tom, the floor is yours.
Thanks for the introduction, Veronica. Pleased to be a part of today's event, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about the top trends for 2020. And again, this has been a very consequential year. Who knew that we were going to have a crisis like COVID-19 during the year, and certainly that has affected a lot of things within the food and beverage industry. So throughout today's presentation, we'll be talking about how COVID-19 is affecting some of the trends that we identified earlier this year. We're also going to talk about what we expect in 2021. So we're going to take you through these trends one by one. Next slide, please. So these are the top 10 trends that INNOVA Market Insights has identified for 2020. The top trend for the year that we identified earlier this year is a trend we call storytelling, winning with words. And clearly this is an important trend, but over the course of 2020, certain things have happened, obviously with COVID-19 and whatnot, and some of these trends have become a little bit more important than others, and we'll definitely point out that throughout today's presentation. So we're going to start things off with a look at storytelling and end things with a look at trend number 10, which is a trend we call brand unlimited. Next slide, please. So the first trend we're going to talk about is a trend we call storytelling, winning with words. Now, really the big thing with this trend is that humans tend to remember stories much more than they remember facts and figures. It's kind of hardwired that we remember these things. And you can see the percentage here. A majority of consumers globally say that the stories around brands and products do influence their purchase decisions. So clearly this is important. If you look at the types of consumers and how this influences them, younger consumers in general tend to be more influenced by these stories than older consumers. Millennial consumers, those in their mid-20s to mid-30s, about 64% of these consumers say they're influenced by these stories. Now, if you look at the reasons why consumers want to know more about products and more about these stories and how they influence their purchase decisions, the big reason here is that they want to know more about where ingredients come from. They also want to know more about product benefits, and that's clearly important in this time of COVID-19, especially products that can provide health benefits such as enhanced immunity. Finally, they want to know more about how foods and ingredients are processed, and that's become very important in this time when consumers are concerned about issues like pesticides and food contamination and safety issues. Next slide, please. So this is a really good example of how a company is using the storytelling concept to talk about ingredient provenance. And the product you're seeing here comes out of the Netherlands. It's a hemp tea product that features hemp that's grown in the Netherlands under the Dutch summer sun. Who knew it was sunny in the Netherlands? That may be a piece of news for people that have been there, but really alluding to how the ingredient is grown, what types of ingredients are used for this product, and so on. So it's a little bit about romancing the ingredient here, and this is a good example of how one company is employing the storytelling technique. Next slide, please. So trend number 2 for 2020 that INNOVA Market Insights has identified is a trend we call the plant-based revolution. And if we had to do things all over again, we probably would have made this one the top trend for the year. Everywhere you turn, you're seeing innovation that's based on plant-based. And what we wanted to allude to with this trend is the fact that plant-based is no longer a niche. It's revolutionizing the entire food industry. Consumers are attracted to it. Product launches are going through the roof. That 58% figure there represents the average annual increase in new product launches each year for the period 2015 to 2019. So that's clearly a big increase. And if you look at the types of claims that consumers are attracted to when they're looking at alternatives to meat products and dairy products, plant-based is a claim that appealed has greater appeal by about a 2-to-1 ratio over vegetarian and a 3-to-1 ratio over vegan. And part of the reason for that is that plant-based is aspirational. It's also something that consumers don't have to follow with kind of a rigid type of thing there. They can flirt in and out and enjoy plant-based meals occasionally every now and then. So looking at some of the innovations we're seeing in this space, a couple of very interesting recent innovations here. Nestle has just introduced the product Vuna, which is a plant-based tuna product that consists of a refrigerated product, 6 ingredients, including pea protein. So this product is debuting in Switzerland. We expect to see it in a number of different European countries in the next few months. The other product here from Conagra Foods, called under the Gardein brand, is what we believe to be the first canned soup product that features plant-based protein ingredients to replace animal-based products like chicken. So very interesting to see these product launches. Next slide, please. Now, one of the challenges with plant-based is that consumers are becoming more discriminating and are reading into the ingredients these products contain. If you look at the survey results here, and INNOVA Market Insights does do a number of consumer surveys over the course of a year, 2 out of 3 consumers are trying to avoid products that have ingredients that are difficult to understand. 1 month ago in the United States, Light Life Foods took out a full-page advertisement in the Wall Street Journal criticizing newcomers like Impossible Foods, maintaining that products like the Impossible Burger contain ingredients that they call hyper-processed. So again, you're beginning to see companies talk about these ingredients and how companies are trying to limit ingredient lists. Light Life Foods indicated in this advertisement that it only uses 11 ingredients for its meat alternative versus 18 to 20 ingredients for products like Impossible Foods meat replacement. So you're seeing more product introductions like the one you see here from Argentina. 6 ingredients. If you look at this product, it's actually a meat replacement that's potato-based. I don't know how it tastes. It looks very interesting. But these are all ingredients that consumers recognize and expect to find in their pantry. Next slide, please. So trend number 3, another trend that really came on strong in 2019 and kind of ebbed a little bit during the early days of COVID, but we think this is something that's going to be very strong in 2021. It's all about sustainability. If you look at the survey result here, you rarely see this big of a percentage change in response from one year to the next. 2018, about 2/3 of consumers globally says they expect companies to invest in sustainability. In 2019, that's almost 9 in 10 consumers. That's huge. It's saying that if you don't have a policy for investing in sustainability or have something visible that the consumer can see, you may be in trouble. Now, looking at some of the key issues here, plastic waste was a big one in 2019, maybe ebbed in a little bit as COVID blossomed, but food waste is a very important issue. According to the United Nations, about 1/3 of all food produced is wasted. And just recently, some big companies, including Unilever, Nestle, and I believe Conagra, came forth and signed on to an initiative here to cut food waste by 50% by the year 2030. So this is a big new initiative. Next slide, please. So these are some concrete examples of how companies are trying to grapple with some of these issues here. The first product example here, rice. Rice is a very water-intensive crop. Now, you're not talking about the use of energy here. You're talking about a renewable natural resource, which is river water from an Arkansas river. And Arkansas is a big rice-growing region in the United States. The product on the far right is also a really good example of the trend toward reducing food waste. This puffed snack product uses sweet potatoes that they call ugly. These are products you'd never see in the produce section or the fruit and vegetable section of your supermarket because they don't look pretty enough. So what this company is doing is using the sweet potato flour that's created with these ugly sweet potatoes. The Brits would call them wonky vegetables, and they're using it for an ingredient for this snack product. Next slide, please. Now, the right bite was trend number 4 in 2020, and this is all about how consumers are selecting food products that can support their lifestyles. Now, when we put these trends together, we didn't really, it was before COVID-19, and obviously COVID-19 has definitely roiled a lot of our consumer markets and has made things more difficult for everyone. So you're definitely seeing more focus here on products that are designed to manage stress, boost immunity, and maintain consumer health. Next slide, please. And talking about supporting consumer lifestyles, here's some great examples of product innovation that really are organized against this opportunity, especially boosting immune health. The product on the far right from Norway is noting the presence of vitamin D, which is something that is proving to be crucial in trying to survive COVID-19. Other products like the Chobani Complete item here, talking about probiotics, and certainly gut health is important for overall health, and even new and innovative ingredients here like turmeric, which is an ingredient that has a number of health benefits that are aligned with maintaining health and trying to ward off the negative consequences of COVID-19. Next slide, please. So trend number 5 is a fun trend. This is called tapping into texture. And what this is all about is how consumers are seeking out consumption experiences, things like texture in a product, adding crunch to a product, adding a new consumption experience. You see the survey number here, 7 out of 10 consumers say that they're looking for a more interesting experience, and they're definitely going to find it with a product like you see here from the Republic of Booza. Booza has nothing to do with alcohol, by the way. If you're looking at this product and saying, is there alcohol in this product? I'd have to say no. They're referring to an ancient ice cream production process about 500 years old that produces a stretchy ice cream. If you look at the company's video on how they make this, they stretch it out like taffy. And it is said to have a chewy texture that is definitely unique for ice cream. So give this product a try. Now, if you look at who is most attracted to this type of concept, again, it's your younger consumers. Your millennial age consumers are looking for new and different experience like that provided by Booza. Next slide, please. So again, kind of alluding to the fact that different consumer generations are going to look for different things in food and beverage products. Your younger consumers, generation Z, as well as millennial consumers in that 26 to 35-year-old age group, may be more entranced by texture as something they're seeking out, new texture experiences. Older consumers, especially the 55 plus consumers, looking for products that they may be scanning for ingredients and looking for sugar contents, sodium contents, and things of that nature. So there's these different experiences for these different consumer groups. Next slide, please. So trend number 6 is a trend we call Macronutrient Makeover. It's also very hard to say, but with this trend, what we're looking at is the tendency of consumers and the media to kind of lock on one thing at a time. Earlier, at one point, cholesterol in eggs was bad. Eggs were bad. Now eggs are good. The same with butter. Butter was bad at one point. Fat was bad in the 90s. Now we hear all about good fats, things like fats in olive oil and avocados and things like that. So public enemy number 1 right now is sugar, as we're worried about obesity and things like that. So definitely a huge focus on reducing sugar content in products. Next slide, please. Protein is a macronutrient that we're also seeing a lot of support for, especially in areas you would not expect. Look at bakery products. This includes cookies, crackers, breads, and things of that nature. An 11% compound annual growth rate in bakery products that feature high levels of protein. And that includes products like the protein cookie product you see here. 18 grams of protein per bag. Protein is seen as a macronutrient that is aligned with several positive things. It's aligned with muscle health, It's also aligned with satiety, so it can help you manage your weight. So these are all good things. Next slide, please. Hello hybrids, another fun kind of product trend, and this is trend number 7. And this is all about how adventurous consumers are seeking out new and different taste sensations. Now, the cronut came out in New York City a few years ago. Dominic Ansel Bakery came up with this invention to the point where New Yorkers stood outside for hours waiting for a cronut. Since that time, we've had the Cruffin and the Kregel and all kinds of interesting developments there. You're seeing fast food restaurants actually kind of tap into this idea. The Impossible Croissant, which actually talks a little bit about our plant-based concept earlier. This product was introduced into test markets in 2020 earlier this year. It went national in the US in June. Next slide, please. So some other really great innovation concepts here that could have some legs in 2021. The first one, category fusion. Now, beer is great. Some people find it refreshing, but it's even more refreshing when you combine it with seltzer. So that's kind of an interesting development there for this product called Spritzin. Mixing taste profiles is another way to kind of play up this trend. Salt and sodium ingredients can oftentimes intensify flavors for certain food products, including chocolate. So for this product from Israel, this chocolate pudding product, sweet and salty, is a taste profile that works. Now, blending different ingredients here. Blending different ingredients is something that also works for the frozen novelty product you see here from Taiwan. Again, brown sugar flavor, but also the inclusion here is boba. And boba comes from bubble tea. It's the chewy tapioca pearls at the bottom of the cup of bubble tea. And it's used to add a new taste and texture to this particular product. Next slide, please. Now, trend number 8, A Star is Born. And we're not talking about the movie here, even though it was a great movie. We're talking about ingredients that are rising in popularity. So these are ingredients that are a little bit off the radar. If you look at ashwagandha, not sure how many consumers can pronounce it, but definitely it's something that's on the rise. It has low levels of consumer familiarity. People haven't heard of it. Consumers not really accepting of it just yet. They need to know more about it. But we're watching these ingredients aim for the shaded area there. That's the promised land, so to speak, for the ingredient market. You're seeing ingredients like turmeric that have already landed there, probiotics, and other ingredients. Next slide, please. So 2 ingredients that are on the rise here include things like prebiotics. We're definitely seeing an innovation trend toward prebiotics, and that's something that's also supported in this time of COVID-19. You're seeing brands like Kellogg actually call out the presence of prebiotics. And I'm not sure how many consumers understand what they do, but prebiotics are kind of like the fertilizer to help keep probiotics alive in the gut. CBD is also something that's trending, and look at the product benefits that consumers associate with CBD. Pain relief, reducing anxiety and stress. We've had a lot of anxiety and stress during COVID-19. Promoting relaxation, that's another big one. So you're starting to see it pop up in products like the hot cocoa mix. Another ingredient to watch is L-theanine. PepsiCo is just going to be introducing a new beverage product into the US market called Driftwell, which is a product that will promote sleep. And sleep is something we've lost during COVID-19. Next slide, please. Eat Pretty is trend number 9 for the top 10 trends that INNOVA's identified for 2020. The old adage, you are what you eat, is true when it comes to this particular trend. Looking at Chinese consumers, 2 out of 3 consumers there say that these particular ingredients support physical appearance, food products and beverage products that can support your hair health, body, and skin. Next slide, please. So looking at an interesting way this trend is developing, skin gestables. All of these products are beverages that can improve the quality of your skin. Look at some of the ingredients they contain. Vitamin C, which is also a very trendy ingredient in this time of COVID-19. Biotin, burdock, different ingredients like that. Next slide, please. And our final trend, brand unlimited. And this is all about 2 things, personalization and creating the expectation that consumers can enjoy maybe a better experience with limited time releases here. You see the survey and the survey results here that indicate consumers want to play a part in designing products they consume. And for Kit Kat Chocolatory, they can go to one of these outlets and design their own chocolate bar. Next slide, please. It certainly works for limited time and limited edition products like the two products you see here. Our Earl Grey tea in a chocolate bar is kind of novel. Another interesting thing with this trend is we talked earlier about reducing food waste. You're starting to see companies talk about this as a technique to take some leftover food ingredients and use all of those ingredients in limited time, limited edition products. As far as personalization, nutrigenomics is a genetic test that can identify what it's looking for 45 different genes that a person might have. And depending upon the person, some of those genes can definitely impact how a person might lose weight on a diet that's high in protein, for instance, the presence of one or two of these genes. So this came out of the University of Toronto. This is something to keep a close eye on for the future. Next slide, please. And then finally, what is in store COVID-19 and beyond? A lot of text in these slides just to take you through some highlights, lifestyle and behaviors. We're going to see more of a focus on weight management as we go through 2021, especially with obesity identified as a key risk factor for bad outcomes for COVID-19. Greater focus on relaxation, mental health. So you're going to see products oriented around these particular benefits. Then finally, discovery and experimentation. These are going to be key themes as consumers are going to get restless and not having the ability to hop on a plane and go to another country or travel freely. So watch for all of these things to influence new product innovation in 2021. Next slide, please. So thanks again for the opportunity to present today. I hope this has been useful. Enjoyed the experience. And if you have any questions, be sure to ask them. Thanks again. I'll turn things back over to Veronica.
Thanks so much, Tom. That was awesome. There was actually one question that Raimundo posted on the chat. How are sweeteners considered in general? Are they considered bad, good? Is the audience, or rather the consumer divided? Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, I think the thing with sweeteners is that consumers are definitely more enthused about sweeteners that are perceived to be more natural, but that perception really varies. We did a survey in 2019 that found that the perception of stevia being a natural sweetener versus artificial is roughly 50-50 with consumers globally. And newer sweeteners like allulose, which is kind of brand new on the market in countries like the United States, it's roughly 2/3 or more consumers perceive it to be artificial. So there's a lot of heavy lifting to be done on these sweeteners because consumers don't understand where they come from, how they're processed, and more.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much.